And welcome back everybody to another tutorial video where we're learning about HTML coding for the web. In our previous lessons we learned how to set up a basic page that we could put online on GitHub, and then last tutorial we learned about different elements and tags to add different type of text elements to our page, like a heading 1 or a heading 2 or a heading 3, a paragraph, horizontal lines, all those type of things from last unit. This week, for this demonstration, we're going to learn how to start adding a little bit of styling to our pages to have some design elements, like specifically talking about font families and alignment and also colors. And it's pretty easy. The method we're going to use for this is called Inline Style. There's actually a better way to do this that we'll learn about later, but it won't really be as easily understandable if we don't talk about it in this form first. So without any further delay, we'll go ahead and get rolling here. Remember our little folder, our Web 1 projects folder. We can just create a new folder on here, and we will call this one Inline Styles, all lowercase, all one word. This would be like the domain inlinestyles.com, and we're just saving this locally here to practice with this. Once we have that folder made, then using your text editor, create your HTML file. If you're using Notepad++ like I am, we'll go up to Save As, and then we will find that Web 1 folder that we made, and then our Inline Styles, that again is all lowercase, all one word. Double clicking on that, and then here where it says Save As Type, I need to click that drop down menu and select Hypertext Markup Language File, otherwise it's not going to work. And this is the only page that's going to be in this folder. So as always, as we've done for our other tutorials up to this point, index.html. All those steps have to be done in order for everything to work properly. Then we'll click Save. And now we're ready to start coding this thing. So again, repetitive, just like the last few that we did. We'll use our angle brackets up here, an exclamation point, doc type, space, HTML. Make sure you have that exclamation mark first in there. After we have that done, then we need to use our angle brackets for an HTML tag. I'll give myself a little bit of breathing space here, and then I'll close it down here. And then up here we have two main parts of the body, or two main parts of the web page, just like BB8 or R2D2 is the comparison I made before. The top part is the head, and then the bottom part is the body. And then I'll close body down here. Alright, so up here in the head section we have three items we're going to put in there. One of them is going to be the title. And in here, between those title tags, we'll type in something like Inline Style Examples. And the title is what shows up in the tab of your browser window. This whole section up here in the head section, that is basically for your browser and search engines. And then remember, down here in the body section, this is for stuff that we see. The second thing that we should put in here would be our angle brackets, and then meta space charset, C-H-A-R-S-E-T, equals quotation marks, and in between those quotation marks we'll go UTF-8, and that's what gives us our characters and letters and symbols and all that to show up on our page. And then the other one that we learned about, which was new last week, which is an important one, it's another meta tag. So we have meta, but we have name equals description in quotation marks, and we have content equals, and here we put a little description of our page. So we'll place in here for the content, we'll say this page shows ways to utilize inline styling for web pages. And this is what shows up in your search engine if you're searching up the page, and then hopefully the users see that and they think, oh, that's exactly what I want to learn how to do. I'm going to click on this link and learn about it. So description is pretty important for that sense. Down here in the body, I think what we could probably do is something just like H1 and we'll put in here for intro to styles. So again, this is called inline styling, and we have a few ways that I want to show you how we can do this. We'll put in here like a paragraph. Here's some text to play with, and we'll copy that. Let's see. Maybe like 7 times. I think that'll probably be fine. Click save here, and then we're ready to go. So on here, the first thing I guess that we can do is we can talk about colors. So anytime we want to use styling with colors, we're usually talking about like a background color or the color of the element itself. I found this page called coolors.co, COOLORS.co. It's a fun way to find some combinations of colors that you could use for like a palette for various projects. So I'm just going to press space on this page until I find something that is not terrible. Sometimes I get a little bit indecisive with it. I do apologize. Alright, and I think we could actually probably make this work nicely. For example, we'll start with the background color. We don't want to just use plain white for the background of our web page. So there's this here, this anti-flash white. Looks cool. They have these little selectors on here, and so I can actually just copy that hex value. Let's say I want to change the background of my web page. So like, you know, if I open it up for Inline Styles, this is what the page looks like as of right now. Just plain white, boring text. Alright, and if I just think, what do I want to change the background to? In this case, the whole body of the web page. So I'm going to select body, and basically this is a tag or an element, but we are now kind of using this as a selector. And then what we can do in this tag with inline style is we could say style equals quotation marks. Alright, and then now we have, this is the selector, so now we're going to give it a declaration. Alright, so background hyphen color in a colon, and this is in quotation marks here. And punctuation is real important for these styles, otherwise it won't show up properly. It won't break the internet, it just won't show your page as intended, which can get kind of frustrating if you forget something small like a quotation mark or a colon or a semicolon. So this part of the declaration before the colon is like called the property. Then we have a value. And with colors, most of the time in the class that I'm teaching, this is how we will be defining our colors, is with a hex value. So it starts with a pound sign or a hashtag for you kids out there, and then we paste that code that we use. This is just a hex value for that code that we used from coolers.co, and it's a way to represent colors using code. And then the browser that you're using, whether it's Firefox or Chrome or Edge or whatever, it'll look at that code and it'll say, you know what, that's a color, and it'll put that color for that element. So I'm going to click save, and then we can go here to our page. I'll click refresh, and you can see subtle, but we had that color change for our background right there. So that's one thing that you can do there. Let's say though we want to change the color of some of the text itself. So in this case, just to have it show up, like I'm afraid, even though I love this Space Cadet color on here, it's pretty solid. We might not be able to tell the difference between that and black depending on the screen that you're previewing this video on. So I'll go with this crimson here, and I'll copy this value. And then to change the attributes to the H1 to just the words, I could go style, starts off the same way, quotation marks, but instead of background color, I'm going to use color, pound sign, and then a hashtag, don't forget the pound sign there, and then Control V and a semicolon. Don't forget the semicolon either. It's crucial. So saving that, let's go to our web page and we'll look at this, and it changes our text up here to Intro to Styles. Now let's say here I had another H1 underneath that, which you pretty much never would, but just to show you how this works, like for paragraphs, for instance, we have multiple paragraphs. With the inline style, this is another heading. Okay, so I'm going to save that and then go to my page. This one down here doesn't take that other attribute because we defined it inline, so it's only going to affect this one here. Down here where we have the paragraphs, if I want them all to have the same styles, where we'll talk about consistency and everything later on, or we'll get more in depth with it later. We would have to put that style in each of those, otherwise it would look kind of weird if each paragraph behaved differently on a web page. You want, just like a web page is telling a story, you're going to be incorporating branding elements like colors and typefaces and all that. You want it to be consistent all the way through. So it is a little bit time consuming with this inline, and like I said, later on we'll learn a better way for that, but right now for our intro we're just doing this inline style for it. Okay, so that's color and background color. Pretty neat. What we can do now is we can also change the typeface, or the font is what a lot of people will call it. So let's say down here in this first paragraph, let's say I want to change, or maybe actually in the second H1, it'll be easier to see. I'm going to change the style of the second H1, and I want it to be a different typeface than what we have for the rest. So it starts off the same way. I go style equals quotation marks, and then we're going to go font hyphen family. We'll use a colon, and just for a simple one on here, I'm going to go Arial and then semicolon. Alright, so here's our information on this, and if I go up here to my page and I refresh this, it changes the typeface right there. Now, one thing I need to let you know is that in order for somebody to see the type that you have defined for the style, they have to have it installed on their computer also. Most everybody has Arial, so I wouldn't have to worry about that too much. But sometimes you download a lot of typefaces and things like that, and it's something you have to at least be cognizant of, because it's like you don't want your type telling an inconsistent story with the message that the web page is giving, you know. So we kind of want to control what the people can see on our page and how they see it. Otherwise it's not gonna be as effective. And you can ultimately use many other typefaces, and we'll talk about how to do that in another time. But for right now, what you should at least be aware of is that if you do a Google search for web safe fonts, these are typefaces that are found on just about every computer. So like there's Arial, there's Times New Roman, Courier New, all those things. These are typefaces that you're pretty safe using anywhere. So kind of be aware of that. You can also define more than one typeface for an element. So like, let's say I am kind of worried about Arial not showing up on a computer. All right, and then what I could do is after Arial and before the semicolon, I could put a comma, and then I could add another one. So maybe another option would be Helvetica, although Helvetica is more rare than Arial. It might make more sense to have Helvetica than Arial, but you get the idea. And then after you have your primary choice and your backup plan, then it's always good to have kind of a fail-safe, because Arial and Helvetica are both sans serif typefaces. I could then go sans -serif, and you can look at that on this page that I was showing you also. This is at W3 Schools. Sans serif, it tells you each of these if it's a serif or sans serif. Basically, serif has the little fancy things at the end of the letters. Serifs do not, or sans serifs do not have the fancy things. So serifs do have the serifs, sans serifs do not have the serifs, to remember that. So here in this case, my font family, it's Arial. That's choice number one. If somebody doesn't have Arial, hopefully they have Helvetica. If they don't have Helvetica, then it's going to show whatever that computer's default sans serif font is, and it's going to show up. So it may not be my best choice, but at least they're seeing something kind of similar to how I intended them to want to see it. So that works pretty good, and is very useful. We can also change our alignment of these typefaces. So to do this, it's not too hard really, but we would just go to our element, in this case paragraph, and I'll go style equals quotation marks, and I can select text hyphen align colon center. All right, and then I'm just going to copy that style, and then I'm going to paste that in these next ones here. So text alignment center, I can do text align right, and I can do text align left. It's left on default, but I'll just put it here so you have it as an example. So I'll save those, and then I'll go into my text here, and you can see here text align center, centers everything in there, text align right is over there. Generally speaking, you don't want to have everything in your web page centered. There are some times where you do want something centered, yes, absolutely. But the rule that I give myself for designing web pages even if I think it's a really good idea to center something on a web page, I'm probably wrong. That's kind of my thing. Sometimes, you know, like in the footer, it's not a bad idea to have your content centered if there's not much in there. Maybe even when you might even want the title centered in the middle. But usually with lots of text, you don't want it to be centered because it makes it harder to read for the users, and readability is pretty key in that sense. So those are some examples. We used one style in each of these on here. Now, what are some other things that we can do with this? Well, I could actually give a background color to this paragraph. So let's say this paragraph, I want to go style equals quotation marks background hyphen color. So this will kind of be neat to show you how it works. And if I look in here, or not here, if I look on my coolers.co, let's find another color that I can utilize. So maybe this darker gray would work. So I'll copy this, and then I'll put in my pound sign, and then paste, and then I'll use my semicolon, and then let's take a look at that in here, refresh the page. Because this paragraph is inside the body, you know, and because a paragraph takes up the whole space of the browser window from one side to the other, even though the text ends right here, it actually goes, you know, almost to the end of the page over there. But you can see where it changes that color in there. So you can have elements inside of another element where it's going to have a different background color or a different color or any of those kind of things with it. So that's kind of good to know and to be aware of. And you can also use multiple inline styles together. So for that, maybe what we could do here in our next one is we could go style equals quotation marks, and let's go background hyphen color. And let's say this one we want to use the color of that red that we used for our H1. So I'm just going to copy this color up here, and I'm going to go background color. I'll paste it in here. So pound sign D80032, and then I have my semicolon. And then when I want to add another attribute to this, then I just go after the semicolon, but still in the quotation marks. And then here I could go color, and let's say I want the color to actually be the color of this background color of our web page, not right here, but of our web page. So I'll go color, and then pound sign, and then I will select this value up here, paste it in here, EDF to F4, then I'll put in another semicolon, and let's say I want to change the typeface of it. So in this one, let's say maybe like font hyphen family, and let's go impact. That'll be a drastic change that we'll be able to see. And then after that, let's see, maybe we could also go with text hyphen align center and semicolon. So here we have multiple styles for this, and then it's like, here's one, there's the property, background color, and the value is that color, and then the property here is the color, and then the value is this color, and then here we have the property of font family, and the value is impact, and here we have the property of text align, and then the value is center. So save that, refresh this, and here we have the background color, it's centered, it's a different typeface, and the typeface is a different color also. So you can get as crazy as you want with these. Obviously, as we go through the term, we'll kind of learn best practices of how to make these match and everything look nice. But here you at least have a demonstration of how this all works. Use this to play around with. You know, try different colors, try different typefaces, see what kind of styles you like. You can use the lecture that you watched from my class for Inline Styles, and I gave you a lot more different styles to use other than just background color and color in font family. So you can try those and apply them to this template in here. You can also go on to Google and look up examples of styles for web pages, and you can find different ones there too. There's so many out there that you can play with, and you know, this is where we can finally start adding some color and a little bit more personality to our page so it doesn't look quite so generic. As always, I'm here if you have any questions or if you need anything. I appreciate you watching and taking the time going through all this, and we'll catch you on the next video.